Chatting with the users.
Yeah, I was mentioning that we're coming. Let's see, this guy is saying our chat game was fizzing out to a draw. They said, "Hey, Alec." I just said, "Thanks for your patience. We're coming."
All right, we should be
There's a lot
live,
of people already
everybody.
there.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody. It's me and Alec Torelli. I brought a special surprise for Alec, something that I know will get his juices flowing today.
I'm excited.
Um, but we'll keep it until the time is appropriate. Welcome to Amateur Hour. This is
There's a
your
lot of people
show.
already there.
What?
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I
It's
think
me and
you
Alec
might.
Torelli. I brought a special surprise for
Wait,
Alec,
is it?
something that I know will get his juices flowing today. Oh, that was me. That was my fault. I had a mirror effect going. Um, okay, so this is a show for the amateur, for the player who's ambitiously trying to improve but acknowledges there are some holes in his game, which is how Alec lives his life, right?
Yeah, I think when you stop learning, there's a problem. So you should always
That's right.
should always
I
have that
like to
outlook.
say I have the same thought. I have the same theory like about life in general. Like as soon as your number one goal is to be comfortable, like you're no longer growing, right? You have to be willing to be uncomfortable to be challenging yourself, right?
Yeah, and if you're not growing, you're dying. So
If you're
it's a
not growing, you're
good
dying. That's
place to
right. So
be.
there you go. And we're all dying anyway, and we're all paying taxes. Hashtag tax season. So
That's
we should
true.
we should probably bring that up, right? How do you pay your taxes?
Not excitedly.
Do you use TurboTax or what's the deal?
No, I have just QuickBooks and the CPA.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, QuickBooks is a lifesaver. I mean, that's been huge, but
Yeah.
there's really no fun way to do it. It's not like I
There's
have
no
a way.
fun way to
I
pay
don't have a way
taxes.
to not pay. So don't.
Right. Well, what you have to do is you have to put the positive energy into it. You have to imagine all the roads you're building, all the policemen you're supporting.
Yeah,
You just have to put it out there in the universe that this is a good thing, and then go get angry.
it allows
That's
me to it allows me to make live the life I live. So whatever.
that's right. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into some chess here. Alec Torelli is gonna follow the games and try to distract me while I play you, the amateur, with time odds. Alec he's the key master and the gatekeeper, which is kind of awkward if you
I'm
think
the
about
time
it.
odds master.
He's the
My
time
skill.
odds
That's the
master.
skill I've developed over the last month or two.
We already got some strong players waiting, Alec. We actually had some. I had a bunch of challenges while I was doing some testing real quick. Had kind of an emergency bug. That's why we were late. So apologies for that. But if the usernames on Twitch and chess.com TV want to start giving Alec their username or ask a funny question about poker or something, Alec gets to choose who we play. But right now, I'm just going to jump in and grab whoever's
Yeah, jump in
waiting.
and grab one, and then I'll be monitoring the chess.com TV chat and the Twitch
Okay.
chat too. So
So the challenges are coming in. Let me do a hard refresh so I know I'm seeing all the current challenges.
yeah, I just opened. I just did that too. Refreshed them.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure I see everybody who's waiting. So we'll go in with Halvard HF. He is a common chess TV watcher, a diamond member, right? Not a first time caller, long time listener. He's a long time caller.
Awesome.
So let's see if I can get this to work right. 1 second. I'm trying to set things up properly. All right. So what kind of time you want me to have? I guess I
So how
should take
how good
1 minute.
is he? How good are we?
He's
How good are we?
1700. I
Oh
think I could
wow.
probably. I'll go with 45 seconds. I'm feeling
I
frisky
was gonna
today.
say 3:45. That's ambitious. This is you're white though, so I guess that's all
I'm
right.
white. I'm gonna try to pre-move the bejesus out of this. We'll see what he wants. He wants the Nightorf. Hashtag expected. All right, here we go. The
Oh
Perenni
wow, that
attack with
was.
G4.
I haven't seen this one before.
This is how brilliant kingside attacks are made, not to be confused with how babies are made, Alec. All right.
So this is all theory though.
This
You've
is
done.
all theory. All theory right now.
So that
Anyway.
kingside attack is actually
Well,
worth opening up. I guess it's a gambit, obviously, for white. It's risky.
yes, it's right now though the structure has transitioned where it's really good for me. Like it was
Yeah, you have
not.
really strong center position. That's
Yeah, I've
huge.
got complete dominance over the light squares. Also, capturing on f5 early is probably dubious because it gives me the G file. And see, I have no intentions of castling short anyway, right? I'm gonna be castling long.
Yeah, castling long for you in this game is great. I mean, you could bring the queen out, and You're threatening the king side right away.
All right, I need to stop multitasking other things right now because I don't have a lot of time on the clock.
So do you want to bring the bishop in and prevent him from castling, like to h4 or no?
I don't
H6,
know yet.
sorry.
I mean, to h6. Yeah, I don't know yet. It's not really relevant yet because I think the biggest thing is just once I have full coordination, the tactics will start to be threatened. Like, I might be threatening to take him on e7, and I'm going to, followed by, I think, check here, followed by, I can basically just pre-move this, so I'm going to do that. So my attack is sort of
Oh, well, now
raging
you have a huge threat on.
on f6, and if he takes g5, I mate him in two. Queen f7, rook takes d6.
Yeah, he's in a lot of trouble right now.
But we'll talk about positionally
He
where this
has to
went wrong for
defend.
black.
He has to defend with f8, right? Or no, I guess he could do that too. But I mean, he's just in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he is in a lot of trouble, but I don't have a ton of time, so I want to end this thing accurately if I can.
Yeah, but if you didn't have time odds, he's just drawing dead in this game.
Yeah, but I mean that's part of the game, right? I mean if I didn't have time odds in any of the games, it wouldn't be. But I mean that's partly I have to play fast and make up for my time odds. But the real issue with white was the capture on f5 early. But this will be instructive for Halvard HF, so it'll be, we'll all get something out of this regardless, and that's what matters, that we're all learning. What matters really is that I'm winning. What matters really is that I'm winning.
Oh, now it's over. Yeah.
It also matters that we're learning. So the pain is being brought in right now. If he plays one more move, I'm going to reveal my surprise to you. My big surprise. He didn't let me mate him. They avoid the mate. Hey, nobody wants their bell rung, even though today we brought something special. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the game, everybody. If you want to follow along in chess.com, you can follow the username Daniel Rensch. Just type /follow Daniel Rensch. Quick command. So I'm going to grab the game here. You can quickly grab the PGN to any game you just played. And I'm going to go paste it in our analysis board. Alec, are you already following the board Amateur 1?
I'm following along.
Huh. Well, that's weird. I thought you were following Amateur 1. I'm going to have to open the analysis board and...
I am following Amateur Hour 1, but I don't see anything happening.
Yeah, I'm restarting it, actually.
Oh, there we go. There's another one now.
Yeah, this is the second one is the one you want.
Yep, I'm there.
So we've got Daniel Rensch versus Halvard HF. Let me... Okay.
I'm making a bargain with Dustin while you do this.
You're making a bargain with who?
Dustin. He promised not to resign.
He promises to play it out to mate?
Yeah, so I said he could play. All right, Dustin,
First of all, are you doing this show on top of a medicine ball?
Yeah.
Dude, give us a little bounce for the fans. Give us a bounce. Look at that. Look at that. He's being ergonomic, everybody.
Someone just challenged me to a game, and now I'm sitting in this game, and I accepted because I thought it was you.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to auto-abort this game. Sorry, guys.
There you go.
All right,
I am not sitting on anything that's good for my core or back, though I do regular stuff in the office to try to avoid that. I have a standing desk as well, just FYI. So, but that's awesome. All right, here we go. So we have a Sicilian. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, Alec, you're a regular Sicilian player, so the information here is useful for you, right?
Yes.
But remember the main advice I gave from Josh's question a couple of shows ago, and it's been helping other people, is you really want to focus on just sticking to one. And the reason I say that is because what he played here, Halvard HF, is playing a Najdorf, which is defined as this move with a6, Alec.
Yeah.
The reason why, even if...
Right?
Sorry, what?
To prevent you from coming in.
Well, it's twofold. Yeah, one, it guards the b5 square, which is sort of critical if black ever wants to establish aggressive intentions with e5 in the center, which is kind of what happened. I'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing is it also prepares the move b5, which is a very common way to get space on the queen side. The reason I said you got to stick with one, Alec, is because in this position here already, there are like 7 different types of Sicilians you can play. A6 is the Najdorf. Knight C6 is the classical. E6 is the Scheveningen. G6 is the dragon. And then even a move earlier, because you've asked before, like instead of D6, black can also play the move knight to C6, right?
Yeah.
In this position, there's a whole nother host of Sicilians. There's the Kalishnikov with E5. There's knight F6 and then E5, which is the Sveshnikov. There's E6, which is the Taimanov. So literally, the Sicilian itself is one of the reasons it's so popular is exactly because what I just described, right? Black has so much flexibility, and it's at a high level, it's much harder for opponents to prepare for you. Would that make sense?
Yeah, because there's so many permutations of what you can do.
Exactly. So Halvard plays the Najdorf, and we're going to focus on some things here that's going to help him specifically, so that'll be useful for him, and I'll provide some universal sort of patterns that can kind of apply across the board. But if you're playing the Sicilian out there as a fan, talking to you, the viewer, and you think you can play the Sicilian and then mix up the dragon, the Scheveningen, the classical, the Najdorf every time, probably that's also a bad idea. Like, just because you're playing the Sicilian doesn't mean you've even really committed to the structure you want yet. I accidentally just did a Donald Trump sign with my hand. I just went like this, Alec, with my hand. It was weird.
Yeah, so Master One First has been the theme that we've been going over, and then that allows you to get really good at all the permutations of that one thing.
Right. So he plays A6. I played Bishop E3. This is common. Now he plays E6. This is a common move. Also possible is E5, but we're just going to go with what he did.
Yeah.
Now I played G4. Remember, I was throwing down the gauntlet.
The move I've never seen. Yeah. Cool.
I called it the Perenni attack.
All right.
That's what it is. It's the not to be confused with the pepperoni. This is the Perenni attack. The idea is just an aggressive extension on the king side to go get jiggy with it over here, kick the knight out, and start attacking.
So now, you literally would push the pawn again if he didn't do something to defend.
It depends a little bit on what he does, yes, but it does multiple things. One, I can play Bishop G2 quickly, and that's sometimes useful here. Sometimes you want to play G5. Sometimes you just leave it and you play F3. It's a very aggressive weapon. It's built on the Carries attack, which is a system against the Scheveningen. I'm saying these things a little bit for the slightly more advanced players that are probably watching the show. So the risk of it seems, is what Halvard tried to expose, which is that the G-pawn is undefended. So he played the move E5 to try to unleash the bishop to hit the pawn.
Yeah, which doesn't seem unreasonable, and because he's attacking the knight too, so he kind of places a double threat, right?
Whammo, that's right. But I played knight F5, and what he should play here is G6 if he really wants to make things nasty.
Because letting you control the white squares with so much center dominance just seems bad. Like, that bishop exchange seems really bad for him.
Yep. And
so that was the move that you said was really bad. The F5?
Yeah, bishop takes F5 was very bad, and it's very counter Najdorf. For those of you who play E5 Sicilians, whether that's a Sveshnikov, a Kalishnikov, or a Najdorf, if I'm talking to you and you're somebody who gets this structure often, just because you see top players play it doesn't mean that the potential positional risks ever change, which are, if you make a false step and white gets complete dominance over the light squares, you will be squeezed. And that's what, so even at the high levels, if something goes wrong for white, or for black, that's how white's going to grind you down.
Yeah. So he should have played, for sure, G6. I totally see that. Yeah.
Now, E5
it's easy
is
in
actually,
retrospect, but
yeah, in retrospect, that's what he should have done. I'm not going to go into all the theory here. It's really complicated. Halvard, you can look it up if you want to continue to play E5. But my recommendation for you, actually, after G4, is just to learn the main lines, which is either H6. H5 is actually kind of a dynamic move. You can play E5, but you have to be ready to be all in with this, really kind of unbalanced position. So that's going to be my advice to Halvard. Now we're going to move on quickly and just show why bishop takes F5 was so bad, because we got a lot of people wanting to play. The light squares are now mine. He probably needs to play B5 to prevent bishop C4, but once he didn't, it just gets worse for him. I don't even know, honestly, if I need to play this. Maybe I can just keep the bishop, and that could be even nastier.
Yeah, because you have so much. Yeah, you have so much center control. It's just really tough. You could bring the queen out too, like, pretty easily at this point.
What I was calculating was that he kicks the knight and maybe goes after the pawn, but the truth is there's just no way that this is going to be worthy. I mean, this is like probably a horrible idea for black. With only like 30 seconds on the clock, I didn't have time to calculate it, so I was like, just play bishop D5. And now I have dominance over the light squares. I use the G file, and things just get worse from there.
Yeah, it's just game over. Like at this, I mean,
Yeah.
you're just in such a strong spot when
Yep.
you bring the queen out on the king side. It's just like so. Yeah, it's just he doesn't have
Word,
any
homie.
threats. You know.
All right. So now we got some
Good job.
craziness. All right.
Well done.
I'll give
All
you
right,
your
let's
option.
go with Dustin. Can we go with Dustin? He
Yeah.
promised to let the
What's
bell ring.
Dustin's username?
It's on chess.tv and it's just Dustin underscore. I don't know what his actual username is. It's just
If
Dustin
it's on
underscore.
Chess TV, then that's his username, whatever that is. Tell Dustin to
Okay,
send me a challenge.
Dustin underscore. Dustin, send
That's it.
Danny a challenge. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Dustin, just underscore. Okay.
That's it. Dustin underscore.
All
Capital
right.
D.
We will
I'm not sure
play.
that matters. He says, "Yeah, I'm here. He's ready. Let's do it."
Um. Why do I not see him? Why are we not getting a game with him? I don't think he challenged me.
Yeah, I told him to challenge you.
And it's just like
He says he
I'll
doesn't know
tell.
how to challenge you, so maybe this is going to be a we.
Well, you got to figure it out, dude. I'm gonna take on somebody
Yeah,
else.
let's
It's
take on somebody
literally
else and we troubleshoot.
the easiest thing in the world. You type / challenge Daniel Rensch. You find my username. It's in the list. It's not hard. You got to know how to use the live chess server. Not fair to the other viewers. Okay, I'll give you a choice, Alec. I can take on a 1,000, a 1,500, or a 2,000. Your choice while we wait for
Two,
Dustin.
2,000.
You want
But
the
you got to be the
2,000?
same time odds because last time you spanked him.
Okay. Where did he go? I had a challenge from the bear. Christopher B. Trapper. I don't know why I called him the bear, but I did. He wants to play 1-0 too. So what do I give a 2,000 at 1-0?
Oh, so he wants 1 minute and you want
It's
what, like 30 seconds? I mean, that just seems crazy.
all right. Here we go. 1 minute to
40
30
seconds,
seconds.
40 seconds, 30 seconds? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. This one is not one we have a lot of experience handicapping.
Nope, it is not.
And you're black, which is
Yep, which is crazy.
this is really stimulating, but I'm not sure how much we're going to follow or learn here. This is insane.
Yeah, this is not easy either for me. 3 minutes is, 1 minute.
He seems pretty good at
Yeah, he is pretty good.
the
Clearly
legs, too.
pretty good.
Yeah, he wanted the 1 minute game.
Yeah, he knew he was
He's
going to beat
probably
me.
better at 1 minute than. I'm not saying he's better, but he's clearly experienced at blitz.
Right.
So what's the play here? Like just move around and try and capture a pawn and go for the queen?
The play now is to checkmate him.
Yeah, you just go for the king. I go for the
Boom.
queen. Oh, it's over. You got him. Oh no.
No, I got him. Boom! And we mated him.
That's so sick. It's the
Smashville.
bell.
Now, I brought this specially just for you. I went to my other office, my home office, and I pulled out the gong. This is the gong. This is more than the bell. This is the gong.
Oh
Ready?
no. Yeah, I'm ready.
There you go. Some people prefer the hotel desk bell, but if you do something a little bit tricky, like this guy, Christopher B. Trapper, he knew what he was doing.
Oh,
He's
that's
like,
a
I'm going to
full
take
on.
on Rensch. He's going to give me 30 seconds, and I'm going to flag him. Well, guess what happened there, Christopher? Hashtag backfired. Have you ever seen Backdraft starring Dennis Quaid? That's right, overrated movie, and you just got backdrafted on that thing. So, not something everyone's going to learn from, but
Yeah, I
but it
think
was
this was really exciting, but I think that in the future we should keep it 3 minutes because
yeah.
you moving at 45 seconds is already a lot to follow along, and him
Right.
moving as well and as fast as he did.
Okay, and there really wasn't a lot of chess there. I mean, the nice thing about, I'll just grab the
Christopher played well.
PGN. The one thing I'll say that was a little instructive about the game is after this, I'm not even going to go over the opening. Can you follow on the analysis board?
Yeah, I'm following.
I'm gonna flip the board. So after this opening where everybody was just traded off, the one thing that was a teeny bit instructive was that even in endgames like this, where it seems like neither player has any type of advantage, with we just have the knights. Can you see the board, Alec?
Yeah.
You have the knights. You have, no real pawn weaknesses for either side. There are still plenty of opportunities to outplay and or to lose an endgame like this. The smallest advantage that black has is that I have a 3-on-2 versus his 4-on-3, which means, in theory, my pawns have an easier time to create a passer because I can move them faster, right? So the other than that, like maybe my knight is a little more placed. But okay, best play, computers, this should be a draw. But the point is, you still have to be really careful in knight endgames because once a knight endgame is closer to a king and pawn endgame than any other endgame, okay? So what matters in king and pawn endgames, Alec, is king activity and who gets a pass pawn first. All right, those are the two biggest things. Now, I'm assuming material is equal. If someone's up 5 pawns in a king and pawn ending and you can't win, well, that's a you problem. I mean, you should be able to win that, right? I'm saying anything that's close to equal in king and pawn endings, the most critical factor is whose king is more active, because the king is such a dominant piece in that scenario, and who can create a pass pawn first. And so,
it seems like you have a good position because your knight's dominant and your king is accessible to the center of the board.
Right, so what I tried to do was quickly, like with very little time, I was just trying to create a scenario where my pawns kept his pony at bay, and that I might have a chance to get my king up to a square like this. So that's kind of what I did over the next few moves, was just trying to activate. Probably I don't even need to push b4, but I realized there's a chance to make a backward pawn. You know what a backward pawn is, Alec?
Yes, like en passant?
Yes, you do. A key part of a backward pawn is en passant. One second.
Where are we going? Okay. I wonder if Dustin figured out this challenge thing.
There's something something they're talking about. Josh and Sam, you guys don't worry about it. I already talked to them about the Title Tuesday coverage. Eric, they already know. Sorry, this is the problem when I'm managing the company and entertaining the members. So the thing about B4, Alec, is it makes this pawn a permanent target, because obviously if I push 1, you take. And even though some members, as they're first learning chess, forget, if white pushes twice, I can also take via en passant.
Yeah, this is a really threatening square for you.
So in some ways, imagine everything else is off the board but this one pawn and these two. Essentially, black's one pawn is worth the same as these 2 pawns because I've crippled both of them.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage of a positional, like, endgame, like, backward pawn. I've created that target, which we know eventually became an issue since he allowed me to get this fork and go gobble up that guy.
Yeah, that was huge when you got the A2 pawn. It was like that allowed you to.
And even with that, I probably still should have lost this game on time, but I think he was trying so desperately to flag me that he kind of made it easier. So anyway, all right, that's the one instructive thing about this game. I just wanted to talk about the end game. Now we're going to move on. So I think I got Dustin's challenge. Dustin, you did it, buddy. Good job. So he's 1100. We got a 5-minute game here, Alec. So what should I get? What do you want me to have? 5 minutes.
He has 5 minutes?
I'll give myself 1 minute, I guess.
5-1? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I could probably do more.
But when you move so fast, it's like almost too hard to follow your strategy.
Okay, that's good feedback for the quality of the show.
But I think him having 5 might be too long. Maybe him having 4, because otherwise, like, he might tank for 30 seconds. But I guess it's fine. You could talk while he moves. I could learn your strategy on his time.
Now, we've seen this opening before. Do you remember what it's called?
The Queen.
We talked about it last show.
Or something?
This is he played the Carol Khan.
Carol Khan. Yes, I remember that. I didn't remember the name, but I remember that we talked about this.
Right. And I played the Panoff Botvinnik. So we're going to reach an isolated queen pawn structure, which is where not anymore. So normally they take with the piece there on d5. He took with the pawn.
Yeah, he normally takes with the knight, right?
Right, exactly. What he's doing is okay, but it's also a tad risky. Oh wait, what am I doing?
What if you put the knight there? Doesn't that threaten him a lot? Yeah, it seems like that's.
Yeah, but he's going to get castled. I mean, yes, I like what I'm doing, but it's not super clear that I'm just winning a pawn, because if I go after his pawn on c6,
he has to defend now, right?
Yeah, but if I go after that pawn on c6 before I get my king castled, he's got his bishop on b4 pinning my knight. So there are some potential weird tactics.
Right.
I was starting to think there. See, now he does the right thing, I think, because if I take c6, it just feels too risky, especially with no time on the clock. Feels like it was an unnecessary, risky maneuver.
I see what you're saying. You don't want to put yourself in a spot with time odds where you have to really think through the structure.
Yeah, and intuitively, somehow I feel like it's a bad idea for me to take there anyway, and I'm going to maintain an edge if I take this approach. He should take on c3, though, and play knight e4, basically just copy me. Okay, he didn't, which I'm happy about.
He seems like he's playing pretty damn strong moves for 1100. Like, he's playing...
Yeah, I agree. No, he's playing pretty well. I think queen b6 was a mistake.
Why doesn't he just take the pawn now?
Well, if he takes d4, I'm going to take his pawn on c6.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Returning the favor. And now he's got a little bit of trouble guarding that bishop, actually. I'm not sure I can win the bishop, but I might be able to.
He could move the queen over, but yeah, he's got to move.
Well, he's got to move queen h4, and then I'm going to play g3.
Yeah, he's got to move queen h4. Yeah, that's it.
Right?
He could trade queens, right? On c4, or no?
No, because then I'll trade and then gobble up the bishop for free.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's got lady issues right now. He's got girl trouble.
You don't want girl trouble.
You don't want girl trouble. 99 problems, but you know what, JC? Jay-Z said one of them wasn't a problem. Okay?
Your knights are also your knight's in a pretty good spot. Yeah, it took him a long time to play that, but he really had no other choice.
But I think he had to, yeah. So now I'm going to be able to gobble the bishop. There's no real threats. Knight to g4 coming in to try to mate me. I'm going to play f3 and guard it. My queen on e2 will guard h2. So I don't think he has enough to justify the falling bishop. The falling bishop. That sounds like a good, I don't know, a falling bishop. Game of Thrones, or is it like a documentary about, controversial Catholicism?
So he wants to do that with the queen trade as well?
I mean, probably he should have tried to make bishop g4 work. I was just calculating that. Maybe, I mean, if he wants to keep it tricky, but now he's down a clear piece. I will continue to try to play fast so that I can simplify the position and win. But, I don't have a ton of time, so I got to be a little careful.
Yeah, you don't have a ton of time because you're in some kind of weird spots where you have to think a little bit about this position.
Yeah, I think I just need to look for as many ways as I can to trade pieces to simplify the tactics.
He's also running out of time, too. I mean, he's doing a decent job. He took way too long with queen h4.
Yeah, he did.
He took like 30 seconds on a 5-second move.
So now I'm kind of pre-moving a little bit.
And yeah, now you're winning another pawn, too, at some point.
I'm pre-moving a little bit just to make my life a little easier on time.
Yeah, now you're winning another pawn, too, right? So.
Well, maybe, yeah, but I'm going to try to create a mating net with the knight and rook as fast as possible. Bring the knight in, try to put the rook on the open file. The biggest issue is when you're the one who's the aggressor, when you're the dominant one in the position, it's much easier for me to pre-move and create, issues for him, like mating issues, than it is for him. So now I've got...
Yeah, he's also on defense with time, too, so it's so hard.
Now he is, yeah. I've got mate in just a couple.
Yeah, now you got the knight and mate, yeah. Yeah, there it is.
So, next move was mate, either king h8, rook h7.
Well played, though, Dustin. I think he played pretty well. I mean, he was...
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't expect the game to be as close as it was. I'd like to see the bishop mistake. I think that's a good learning point. He played the opening well. I mean, you could see how knowing the theory of opening just makes your life so much easier because you're just not, you give yourself a chance to get through the middle of the game and put your opponent in a tough spot. Otherwise, you're just kind of screwed, right? If you just don't get the opening theory.
Indeed, but it's also, yeah, I mean, it still takes some technique from them after that. But yeah, I mean, if I start off on a bad foot,
Yeah, it's like playing bad cards to begin with in poker. Like you have to play
right,
your first two cards that are strong, and then it makes
right,
everything else so much easier because you're more likely to make a good hand. You have
right.
less complex decisions.
That's a good way to put it because it's
It's
like if someone
just
is
so much
always
better.
convincing themselves they can play, whatever Queen 4 offsuit, and then they're mad that the cards don't go their way, they're just statistically not playing one of the top 10 or 15 hands, right?
Yeah, it's just if you just play the strongest hands pre-flop, then
Right.
it's like no, it's like guaranteeing you're going to play a perfect
How
opening.
much how much do you follow that rule now at your level in poker? I mean, do you still like try to only play the top 10 or 15? I know the top 10 hands are basically a pair, and then you get like king ace and, all that stuff,
Right.
but like how far do you go down the pipe depending on the read of the table?
Yeah, so you could scale the range of hands you play back and make it wider depending on your skill edge over your opponents
Uh-huh.
and your position at the table. So
Right.
you could dance with the laws, but you can't break them. You can stretch them a little bit, right? They're elastic like a rubber band, but you can only
Right.
stretch so far before it's just going to break. So you could go top 20%, something like that, but you can't play 35% of hands no matter who you are. You
Right.
just can't overcome that mathematical disadvantage.
That is a good way
It's
to
like with
to
you in
phrase it
chess.
because yeah, well, like
You
I've
play
talked to
some
people,
openings that are non-theoretical because you can get away with it against a player that's rated 1,000. But
right.
you can't just start doing H4.
Right, and the thing is that a common misconception is like people who don't know anything about like what makes a strong chess player forget that like there are rules that govern a good chess position before you even talk about theory. Like I'm sure you have theoretical ways that let's say there are 10 theoretical ways to play pocket aces, right? Or I'm just making a loose comparison.
Right.
But people think that opening theory is all that makes a great player. So I often tell this funny story where like I would play the Simul every year at a Jewish community center. They would bring me down and I would play a bunch of like 60 people and it was really cool during Passover and like but I always got the same questions. People were like, "Hey, if I played a really good player and play like this and then this, like does that throw you off?" But they forget that like what's going to govern the game is that if black gets complete control over the center, it doesn't matter if I've ever seen this opening before. You can invent any variation you want, you're still going to get crushed, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
because the principle that governs the position first is like control the center, active piece play, don't weaken your king, get castled. And then there are different ways to evolve on opening theory. But you have to stick to like a good fundamental starting point. All right, so this is all right. Let's go over this game real quick. I talked about the Carol Con last week, Alec. If you remember, this idea is white plays aggressively in the center. Most of the time, the pawn structure goes like this, and white ends up with the one weakness in the center in exchange for some initiative.
But he took with the pawn instead, which I think opened up.
Exactly. You can take this way, Dustin. You can actually look into it. It's just a little bit worse for black, and it's also to me it's unprincipled. Like to me, this is the way to play the position and engage in that dynamic battle of all time and space, right? Hamiltonian versus Jeffersonian, IQP versus positional chess, right? You want to engage in philosophical differences in this game. You want to try to win my pawn by trading minor pieces and squelching counterplay and surround my weakness, and I'm going to try to do the opposite. E takes d5 is just you're in a symmetrical structure just on the worst side of things. And these two moves I played with check, normally the move is bishop d7 and then another check. Like it gives white this like small edge, like even if you go for the endgame, because if I take, you have to play this like passive move and I'm significantly ahead. Or you take with the king, and your king is in the center, running into some tactical difficulties on the open lines. So you're just a little bit worse in a symmetrical structure if you take with d5. And so I recommend taking with the knight and engage in the philosophical battle, and try to
Yeah,
win the IQP game.
right. I think that was a starting out mistake. So okay, so then what happens after here? What's your defense to this?
So I played chess. Oh wait, if
No,
he takes with the knight.
when he takes knight d5.
Right. So he's got a double attack here.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't exchange. You have to defend in some fashion.
There are two moves theoretically. There is queen to c2,
Yeah, I like.
and then there's the move bishop to d2. They're both fine. I've played both. I think I prefer bishop to d2, only because queen to c2 leads to like some crazy tactical stuff that I don't know if I'm always ready for, and I don't if I didn't stay up on the theory, and I don't want to. But bishop to d2, the game goes like this. This is this is very famous, a famous chess position. Castles, the bishop often comes back to e7, queen e2, knight f6 comes to prevent queen e4. Moves like rook d1. Bishop. This is a actually it's knight e4. This is a position that has been played a ton of times. This pawn is poisoned because I trapped the queen. Like rook d8, b4, rook c8, and this position is just it's been played by a very famous game is Kamsky-Karpov from their World Championship match in '96, I believe. This position has been played a lot where white tries to come to life eventually and go for things on the king side, and black is looking for opportunities to squelch counterplay and ultimately sort of strangle and win this pawn. If you've been wondering why this pawn isn't capturable for the last several moves, a lot of times if you go for positions like this, the tactics immediately backfire with white just getting too many things over here. I'll give you a fun line. Like if you go
That's
here,
interesting.
it seems like, oh, I've defended this. Now they play rook d1, and you still have tons of issues. And if you move the queen off, well, now I'm just going to take and just double all the pawns and go for the attack. So this is a black can't really
But
go for that.
didn't you give up a piece in this gambit though?
Only a pawn. I gave up a pawn,
Oh yeah,
which was like nothing, right? I mean, I'm gonna bring the house over here, and he's not gonna be able to defend the king.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
really
he's up a pawn, and it's not even a very pretty pawn, right?
yeah, and it's so easily recapturable if you bring out the queen. Yeah.
Yeah. A fun philosophical statement about IQP positions. If you're playing the isolated pawn, I learned this from my great uncle Yermo. Hashtag Alex Yermolinsky. Does shows with us often. But the best isolated queen pawn is one with no defense. Because what you're saying in between the lines is that the position has become so tactically dangerous for black that they can't even take it. The pawn is so dangerous they can't even take it, because if they do, they'll open up they'll open up the full forces of Mordor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they'll just allow you to bring down the house and just
So
attack.
usually what happens as an isolated queen pawn gets outplayed, Alec, is actually what happens is the person playing the pawn ends up having to play more and more moves, like, to defend the pawn, and they start putting all their pieces behind the pawn instead of aggressively somewhere else on the board. That's often a sign that the IQP is sort of getting strangled and that there's not enough counterplay. Because tactically, if I'm doing my job, I want to treat this pawn like it's a poison pawn, where I'm constantly saying, come on, baby, go ahead, take it, see what happens, go ahead,
Yeah.
take it. Right, so that's kind of in between the lines. A good IQP is an IQP with no defense. So anyway, that's just a little.
Interesting. Yeah, this is interesting stuff.
All right, so let's play another one. We got a lot of people waiting. Who's your next person? Who's your next favorite?
Um,
I got a lot of challenges here. I got a 1500, an 1100, an 1800, a 1300.
yeah, let's throw out the 1500. We've gotten some on the high and the low end of the spectrum. Let's get somebody right there in the middle.
That's you, Nighthawk 8, which is good because you've been here from the beginning, Nighthawk. We appreciate the support. Thanks for being here, Home Slice.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll give Papa Bear 1 minute here.
Yeah, I like that. I like the 5-1. There's like time to think about it, talk, learn a little bit.
Nighthawk, your move, buddy. It looks like he was having connectivity issues, and then he took a pill for it. Now he feels better.
So this is very standard. So he didn't want to take.
I'll play the main line. This is the Scotch. This is the classical line of the Scotch. White opens the center early.
And he just retakes with...
Well, the best move here is Queen f6, intermezzo, attacking the f2 pawn.
Queen f6? Oh, that's interesting.
and then I have to guard checkmate before I can deal with my knight on c6. So then he wins the knight back.
But
That's
then he
the
also
best
brings
move.
out the queen.
Yeah, he didn't play that. This is still okay for black, but it's not not theoretically best for black.
Yeah, because he just gets another piece developed for free.
Yeah, queen f6 is. We'll talk about it. I mean, it's there's some drawbacks, but that's the main line classical. Is this move queen f6, gaining a tempo on f2 first. So now I'm gonna play sort of a move that just
It seems like
intuitively
his
feels
pieces are a
right.
little like blocked in here. I guess he could. He's going to try and open the D file to bring out the bishop, right?
Exactly, and I'm sort of
Eventually, he's going to
creating.
push the D file.
Yeah, he's gonna play d5 at some point, but I might just play e5. I'm trying to create this sort of awkwardness for him, and that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to create sort of a mess of the tactics by pinning this knight, so I can induce this sort of
Yeah, I
positional
didn't really
weakness.
like that knight move because like he has no second move with that knight with your E4 pawn there. I guess he's going to play D5 and try and open up the center and then
No, and that's what he did, right? He played d5,
realign
but
his pawns. Yeah, right.
the real issue here for black is starting to become positional. Like this pawn on f6, you know where that pawn wants to go is back to f7 because the king is open.
Yeah,
These double pawns on the c file, c6 and c7. If he ever
and
moves the d5 pawn, they become really weak.
yeah, and you could go C4 with the bishop, and you just have, or even leaving the bishop where it is, you have a threat on the H pawn. It's just tough for him to defend. It seems like
Hmm.
long term.
Yeah, so the positional tension builds up here. Notice how I'm not taking anything with the pawn, right? You always want to leave a pawn. Every position you have with pawns is a game of chicken. It's a staring contest. I actually just blundered the exchange. I just played fast.
So
But
why
what's
don't you want to
funny,
take the pawn early? Because it just builds more tension for you,
yeah, I
for
just
him.
blundered the exchange, though. I should have played knight a4 first.
Oh, you
So
just
good.
gave up the rook. Why didn't you just play
I
F3?
can't. His bishop on c5 was pinning the pawn. Pinning the pawn of the king. You see that?
Oh yeah,
But it's okay. This position is actually still kind of unclear. I should have played knight a4 before rook d1. I was talking to you about the positional deficiencies of black's position, and I made a tactical error.
yeah. But this
That
is
happens.
getting interesting. You gave him some material back, so it's that's maybe what we should do in these games, where instead of you starting without a rook, you kind of like let him exchange a piece that's better for him, like this.
Well, again, I,
See
I
what
don't think I
happens.
like the idea of it being chess related, right? I mean, partly I always lose at least one point in the show. I mean, to me, I don't want to sacrifice too much of the education for the viewer for the excitement of the fact that I might lose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
for
mean, I
sure.
already almost lose on time. I think a couple of these games could have gone the other way if my opponents had
Absolutely.
played
That one where you checkmated him with the pawn
right.
pass, like, that was 50-50, let's say the least. I mean, that was anyone's game.
And
So
this is kind of
I like
instructive
how
here
you
because
guys leave all the tension on the board with the possible exchanges that have been here for so long. I've never really had the I guess I always play chicken first and just for lack of developing tactics or knowing what to do, I just exchange because it's obvious and easy.
right.
Whereas sometimes it might be more prudent to develop a game plan long term.
Exactly. That's what I was starting to highlight before I blundered the exchange. I was highlighting the tension with the pawns, and then I blundered, so I kind of lost the train of thought. But yes, it's instructive and important to note that strong players, like I said, with the pawn structure, it's like it's a staring contest. They're always you're building up on the tension all the time, and trying to put your pieces in the prime spots, not just for the current tension, but also assuming the tactical position will change. I was waiting for that so I
Oh
could win
wow,
back.
he made a big mistake there.
But I don't even know if I'm going to take the rook. I might just. I guess I have to. I wanted to go take the pawn actually, on d5,
Oh
but
wow, yeah.
I would have run into some problems if I did. Um, but now
I
he's
mean,
falling
he's playing
apart.
pretty well, but he made a big mistake there. That was
Yes.
he had a big, he had you kind of in a tougher spot with up material and some tempo, but now it's just kind of unwinding.
But one of the things you were highlighting about the tension kind of made it hard for him. Like because I was worse, I kept it as murky as possible, right? If you're the one losing, you want to swim in the dark water so they can't see where they're going.
Yeah, now I think you're going to flag him on time because I don't know if he's used to playing endgame speed chess like this. I mean,
Yeah, but I might mate him first.
yeah, he just gave up the queen too. Yeah, I mean,
So we'll back up and we'll take a quick
yeah,
look at that before my blunder of the exchange. But this was an instructive one.
yeah, for sure. There were. I mean, you guys both made an equal blunder there, or I don't know equal, but like in terms of piece value. Um,
Right, we both blundered the exchange.
you both blundered the exchange, yeah. But it was interesting for a minute there. I thought he definitely had a chance. Like
Oh yeah, totally. No, I think
that he
without
shook
that
the bet.
blunder. So let's talk about that point of real quick. We'll touch on the Scotch. The Scotch is an aggressive opening for white. Obviously, there's the Rui Lopez, which is Bishop B5. There's the four knights, Knight C3. There's Bishop C4, the Italian game.
Yeah,
The Scotch is just another way to play E4. The opening of the center early is aggressive for white, but it does create potential drawback on the dark squares. So the first sort of pro tip for Nighthawk is you want to know the theory here, because there's a reason why after knight takes C6, Queen F6 is the best move.
yeah.
The
That
main
seems
thing is that it will enable you to take back with the D pawn rather than the B pawn. Because in this scenario that happened in the game, with you taking back with the pawn, you're in a position where white kind of gets what they want, which is this potential for a nicer center than you. But you don't get the development lead that black normally gets in compensation for that. So you're sort of positionally worse, but you don't quite have the compensation you want. The point of Queen F6 is that because you force this defense, I have to guard the checkmate, let's say, and you take back here. Now, yes, you're in a position where white has this 4-on-3, but black is getting developed very, very quickly in these positions.
yeah,
And you have an initiative to make up for that. Does that make sense, Alec?
for sure. I mean, this is really strong for black. Like the bishop's already developed. It's almost nice that the d file's open for black.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, black definitely gets control over the d-file before white does.
yeah, not even close.
And okay, and so the game goes on. I mean, this position is theoretically about equal. White unwinds, but black is doing good in these lines. I mean, consider that black is just equal right from the start.
Yeah,
if
here
you
it
play
just
Queen F6.
intuitively looks bad for black. The first
Right.
one, that one, yeah,
I agree. So now I develop, and you play knight e7, which actually, once he gets this position, kind of makes sense. He was the reason he did that, Alec, is because he was worried about bishop g5. He didn't want me
yeah,
to pin the knight.
yeah. Then you're just so overdeveloped here, and he's just like then you bring the bishop to c4, and then it's like
It's tough, yeah.
yeah,
So he decided to play knight e7, which is fine. I played bishop d3. I'm just sort of getting primed for what I know is going to happen in this structure, which is that at some point there's going to be tension brought to the e4 pawn, and my bishop's going to want to be on this diagonal. That's why I put it here instead of c4.
yeah.
So I played bishop g5. I kind of was playing this, like I said, just to kind of murky the waters and irritate him.
Yeah, then he had to open up the king side, pretty much.
Yeah, probably what he should do. After I played this, I realized I think he should have played this move, and it's kind of irritating for me. Because if I play b3, are there issues on my knight?
Yeah, yeah. Then what if he brings the bishop down? Yeah, it's like
Yeah. I don't know. I also think that if you're going to attack the bishop, probably h6 makes sense more than f6. f6 just felt like a weakening move, and the truth is we were headed toward a real nightmare for black, I think, until I blundered this exchange. Because what I was highlighting with the tension here is that with these pawns here, Alec, the tension favors white because black can never take, right? I mean, black never wants to take it because now he's got it's just wretched, right? And the king is open. Black never really even wants to push it because he's also abandoning these guys. I'll move my knight, and he has all these positional weaknesses with the pawns. So that tension really favors me, which is what I was trying to do quickly, was just build on it and talk about how.
yeah, I saw that when you brought the rook down, but then.
But all things considered, okay, I should play one of other two moves. I should either play knight a4 first, which is a common move, not only because it gains a tempo here, but it's often followed with moves like c4. Where once again, look what I'm doing. I'm ganging up on this pawn who doesn't want to move. This pawn wants me to take. It wants me to take because then I'm going to undouble his pawns.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to build up on it and threaten things like c5, trapping the bishop, or I'm going to build up on it with the rook at some point if I'm not, losing the exchange. So that's how you outplay somebody in a position of pawn tension. You want to create an environment where if they ever take you, like, okay, they may not be losing, but they're improving your position, and then you build on that like water hitting a dam. You just want to build the water until it breaks.
Yeah, and I messed this position up as black and as white, but mainly, it's even worse as white because, you're giving up all your advantage, and I end up just taking right away and sort of almost eliminating the threat for black and allowing them to recapture and structurally get back to where they want to be.
Yeah, because if you take here, he takes with the pawn.
Yeah, then
then
fine.
you play the next obvious move. You go, okay, now I'll attack his bishop, and he goes here. And so you play two obvious moves, and you go, splat. What am I doing next? There's nothing to do. I've undoubled his pawns, right?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about theoretically how to approach these positions. Like so C4 is a really good move because it highlights what you should be trying to accomplish from a conceptual point of view.
Yeah, I think if I play knight f4 and c4, he's just already in trouble. And so I played rook d1 quickly. The moment I did, I was like, uh-oh, I gave him the one thing I shouldn't. But what's funny is after this, black's light squares are so weak, and he still doesn't ever want to take here because this is still a nightmare, right? I mean, he's got all kinds of problems. So this position, despite him winning the exchange, that's how worse it was positionally. It's actually not very clear. Okay, a computer would beat me here as black if they were black, but this is not an easy position to play for black. And so we continued on, and eventually I just kind of murked it up. I kept coming back to this c4 idea, which I should have just played right away here. I don't know why I didn't. Yeah,
you just reversed the order, and it cost you. But yeah, you did. It just goes to show how tough that position was for him to defend. Yeah. And then he gave up the exchange with the knight, which...
Well, and it was tough here because I unleashed this rook here, and he knows, okay, now I'm in trouble. The bishop may be coming here. So he kind of played the natural thing, like, cement my bishop in on its dominant square, but it opens up this square.
Yeah.
And okay, so then he went on to lose. But I think it's instructive to see how the tension was all about the d5 pawns, what you really want to do in those scenarios as far as building up on it. How not to get seasick while you're watching Alec bounce on the ball. I think members are watching you bounce and they're like, "Are we on a boat here? What's going on?" Okay. Anyway, so this is fun. I hope the members are learning. I got a whole lot more challenges here, Alec. If you want to choose who it is,
where are my choices?
I got a 1300 WSK. I got share 29.
WSK's been here the whole time. Let's give him a shot.
You want to give him a shot? All right.
It's been here a while. What's up, WSK?
And it's a 3-0. Oops, where'd it go? Right as I said that, a bunch more challenges came in. Lost. I got to scroll up. There it is. WSK. We will. What should we do? Let's give me 40 seconds. 45 seconds.
45's fine. 3:45.
Ooh, slash W times 0:45. This should be interesting.
And we've seen this.
Yeah, we got a Chichilian again, except now he's going back into the classical. Oh, so this is a common mistake of doing this before he's played a6. But what was I supposed? I shouldn't have done that. I should have taken c6 and played bishop c4. Because now he can actually. Oh well, now he's really blowing it. But he should have played a6. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, no, he could have played a6. So now the issue is I'm getting like a really good Sveshnikov. This is similar to a Sveshnikov, but I've got a couple ponies.
Oh, he's not the game.
Oh, no, buddy. He got nervous. He's going to say in the chat he got nervous. He was playing on TV, right? Long-time listener, first-time caller.
That's a funny thing to say, but I understand.
He got nervous. There's no way he's not going to play that bad. So,
all right, let's just rematch him and just go again. I mean,
I'll give him a second game. But what I want to point out to him, I'm not even going to open the analysis board for you. I just want to point out for him. So you don't want to do this e5 positions until you've played a6 to stop knight b5, or if you're in a Sveshnikov. This is just double-edged. But after you did it, you should have at least played a6 now and forced my knight back to a3 instead of what you did. Once you let both knights sit on d5 and b5, you're just
game
asking
over
for it. So
yeah, it's just...
All right, so I'm going to rematch him.
Just rematch him. That didn't even count.
There you go. So
and we rarely give rematches, but we'll give him a rematch and give him white.
We're generous today. Alec is feeling generous. So now I'm gonna play a Chichilian.
Yeah, that's cool. I like the fact that you played the same opening that he played, so we could kind of see what could have happened and see a6 in action. And now e5 is threatening.
Now I'm playing a6 and e5 exactly. So this is.
And he's playing white obviously better than black, but he's pre-moving and doing everything right, saving time, moving well.
Yep. Saving time as far as that goes, moving well. Knight f3 is not. It is actually fine, but it's We'll talk about it. In fact, after that, I played bishop e6 when the correct move is bishop e7, so I messed up. I'm gonna do a little sack town. This is I'm doing it mainly because it's a common pattern in these Sicilians, and I want to talk about it. I don't know if it's the most brilliant time to sack, but it's fun. So what I got there, Alec, was a minor piece and a pawn in exchange for the rook. But the most important thing is the pawn I took is a critical center pawn. So now you see this thing happening, right? I got double pawns about to get nasty in the center here. And
that was a mistake. The c4, right?
C4 was a big mistake. He loses material, but
now
that
he
exchange
just loses
sack,
that. He
Alec,
just loses that pawn back, and you just gain so much on the center. It's like,
well, also he loses. I have two pieces for the rook now, because remember, I sacked a rook for that knight and pawn.
Yeah.
And then I just won another. So now I have two minors that I picked up. And so the key is that sack I just did for all Sicilian players occurs in a lot of Sicilians. It occurs in dragons. It occurs in night orfs.
Why don't you take the pawn?
Well, he attacked my queen just now.
Yeah, but why don't you take the pawn on a2?
Oh, I don't know. I wanted to coordinate over here. I guess you're right. But
I mean, I might not be right. I just was curious.
I think this was better. Now he made it really easy. But I wanted to go attack the c pawn, not the. I wanted to go attack the c pawn.
So he said good game. He should really try and get you on time. I mean, you have the 13 seconds.
Well, it's pretty much over.
Yeah, and he gave up another piece, so now it's over for sure.
Yeah. So let's take a peek at this one, mainly because the exchange sack is kind of instructive.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to see that. He played better, but then this guy, I feel like he's the type of poker player that like he loses one hand and he just loses the rest of his buy-in. I'm
you can't go on tilt
him
so
a hard
fast.
Time. Yeah, he went on tilt like after one mistake. He just gave it up.
Well, I think it's hard too because like he was a little bit nervous or whatever. I understand. So okay, here we go. Let's take another look at this. So we have a Sicilian. We'll flip it to see from my view. It doesn't really matter, but so now I played the Nightorf, which was kind of cool because I've been talking to people about the right way to play e5 with a6, and that's what we did. Typically, the way that White goes about it most of the time is this knight goes to b3 rather than f3, and then regardless of what Black does, they play f3 to kind of not only support the center, but then to do the idea I did earlier, g4 and g5 and all this business over here.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but White's going to castle long anyway.
Mm-hmm. So this is more typical than what he did. Knight f3 is a playable approach. In fact, it's a slightly more positional approach to take. And in some ways, what they're doing is they're refocusing their efforts to come after the light squares.
Yeah, they're kind of castling short in this game. I mean,
exactly. So I don't want to imply to WSK, of course, at all that the Knight f3 is a bad move at all. They're actually both totally good. They're just two completely different ways to play.
Yeah, it's crazy that one move is going to dictate the entire strategy of White the whole game.
Now, what I'm supposed to do here is actually bishop e7 first. And before I do what I did, but I played bishop e6, and what he should have done to punish me immediately was knight to g5. That's I was, it's fast and bullet, but that's the best move for White here, to kick the bishop out of that square.
Because then you're just moving twice.
Well, yeah, and if I make a bad move, now you play bishop c4, and I might be resigning in a few moments. I'm really in trouble here.
So what do you do when he attacks there on the bishop?
Okay, well, first of all, again, as I said, like theoretically, if I was playing a tournament, like I know this is the best move. I was just playing fast. But let's say I play this and he gets knight g5. Probably I just give it to him and sacrifice. I sacrifice the light. I sacrifice the light square bishop in order to make sure he doesn't get like bishop c4 because I'm guarding it, and I kind of create a structure that, though weak, at least it kind of guards some critical points in the center.
Yeah, but this is really good for white. I mean,
Yeah, it's better for white for sure. I mean, it's this would not have made me happy if he had actually played knight to g5. So I
yeah,
wanted to point that
that's
out.
a dagger move, that knight g5.
Yeah.
You don't really realize it, but yeah, when you see it in action.
And even bishop to g4 gain a tempo is bad because again you play f3. Maybe I could do this and try to come around because at least then bishop to c4 isn't winning. But this is still terrible for me. I don't like this at all.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
would probably rather do what I first said and just give up the bishop and guard the light squares.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So let's
so
see
he
what he
didn't,
did.
and
That
that kind of let me out of that little bind, and so I stopped it. But once he allowed me to make this sacrifice, I was pretty happy. And so this is a good lesson for white in terms of why you can't play a Sicilian and then tell yourself, oh, I'm playing a better player. Let me just get castled and develop my pieces and connect my rooks, and then I'll start to think. This is it's like literally my biggest thing. I teach this so much because they all go into like a comfort zone when they're a little bit disheveled. Like you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. So let me just get my pieces developed in castle and then I'll think. You have to think about where you're developing the pieces given whatever structure is already on the board. You have to think about what squares you want them on in terms of what diagonals and squares are open. It's the quick and then if you wonder why you're not good at blitz, it's because in blitz you shut down that part of you that knows better and goes back to just developing for development's sake. You get bad positions, you get crushed, and it's a vicious cycle. You know, it goes up and down and around like a merry-go-round. It's not fun. So you have to think about what you're doing, regardless of the time control, and then at least the lessons you learn are no longer specific to just that game. So I would bet that he probably doesn't always play this way, or if he does play like openings he doesn't know, and he shuts down the critical thinking in the opening and says, just develop my pieces and get castled, then I'll figure it out. He's going to be learning similar lessons, which is you can't do that. So this is like not, I mean, probably what you needed to do here is put the queen on d3, given how you kind of didn't play it right, or maybe at least recognize I have this threat and play bishop d3, which is wasting a developing move, but at least you're not allowing that. Not to say that this is like totally winning for black, but this is a pretty good exchange sack. Whenever you get a minor piece and a pawn for a rook, especially early in the game, it's usually really good for them because the minor piece is going to be the better piece over the rook for many moves to come. Like when a rook's going to flex their muscles in the end game when the position opens up. So
this
especially if I get a pawn and it's a center pawn, you know, the position really starts to go downhill, regardless of you blundering the piece. Like, even if you play c3 here. I mean, who wouldn't rather be black here? I've got a dominant center, right? All of white's pieces are totally cramped.
Yeah. And there's nowhere to go. I mean, he has to do, like, knight b3 to get out of it. But
yeah, it's no fun. So hopefully that makes sense. And it's, again, a reminder.
The C4 was a huge blunder. The c4 was, like, just opened up the whole...
Well, c4 blundered the bishop, and then I was now I'm not even down material, I'm up material.
Yeah, and you just dominate the center. I mean, you playing d4 was like the dagger. I mean, that's just so brutal for him.
So okay, so some good lessons there. I mean, a few more moves wasn't super relevant. He, you know, maybe I could have taken a2 like Alex said.
Yeah,
I was kind of focused.
I'm not saying
here.
it's a mistake, but I just was curious why. It just seems I just do the obvious moves more often, and I know that. You know, sometimes they're poison pawns and stuff like that, so I didn't want to...
No, in this case, you're probably right, because there's no way the queen can get lost. I'll just keep gobbling up stuff, but I guess, like, sometimes in Bullet, they say, like, a stronger player. It's like Magnus Carlsen just missed a mate in 3 and Tata Steel, right? And the world went crazy because the world champion missed a mate in 3. Okay, a forced checkmate in 3. This, like, never happens, Alec. This is, like, big news in the chess world for the last couple weeks, okay?
So he missed it in Bullet or missed it in normal chess?
No, like over the board with hours on his clock, he missed a mate in 3.
Wow.
So why does that happen? It's similar to why Kramnik missed a mate in 1 while he was world champion in a match years ago against a computer. Like, how do these inexplicable things happen? Because to, like, any amateur or anybody else, you're like, how is that possible? I see mate in 3s, and if you give me 2 hours, I'm going to see it, right? The reason is, psychologically, it's the same reason, Alec, as why I played queen to c7 here. Like, generally, like, once someone thinks they see a win, they tend to just, like, follow through with it because they're evaluating other factors. Like, do I really want to spend a bunch of time looking for something new? Am I going to lose on time? So they just commit to something that makes them feel comfortable. This is a little bit extreme comparison, but I'm just pointing out that Magnus, you know, everyone, you know, ridiculed him or criticized him, and deservedly so. I mean, he missed a mate in 3 and then didn't win the game. He drew. But the reason he missed it is because he thought the other move he was playing was a win, and he had already calculated this other move like several moves before. So the mistake really was not even missing the mate in 3. It was not rechecking himself before he wrecked himself. He psychologically should have slowed down and made sure the line he was about to choose was a win. Because I'll put it this way. If he had gone on to win that game, he would not have been nearly upset at all for missing a mate in 3. He would have said, oh, okay, I missed a mate in 3, but I had already decided to win with this way if he was right.
But the fact that he drew means that...
Right. So really the psychological mistake was not checking himself to make sure that the line he was already sort of pot committed with was the right play. When it proved not to be the right play, then missing mate in 3 is like, it's like getting punched in the right?
It's funny. It's just the worst. I learned a lot about poker and thinking about the game of poker while doing this chess stream because so many things.
It's because I'm just a natural teacher and you love me. Say you love me. Tell everybody you love me.
I do love Danny. Yeah,
there you go. You said it on air.
there's a lot of times that this happens in poker too, where you're just like so focused on, I put him on this one hand, or I'm going for this play, and then a different card comes. And that's like the one card that you have to reevaluate your play with, because that card changes your ability to execute. Or now you have an easy, check or an easy fold or an easy all-in.
And when this happens in chess a lot, so then this may be helping in poker or not. It happens in chess a lot, right? Well, it happens in chess a lot right after the time control. You make time control, meaning in these long tournaments, Alex, they have to make the first 40 moves in like 2 hours, okay? So... I don't know if there's a poker comparison to that, Alec, but the point is, right after time control, the players are a little exhausted. They've just made it through like we'll call it the first big transition of the game. Often they're headed into the end game. And at these times, if you've sort of preconceived an idea or you've been pot committed to a way you're going to win, it's very good to like recheck everything and take a breath. And not, so I don't know if there's a comparison that maybe in poker it happens after someone loses a big hand previously or wins a big hand. I don't know what psychological things might affect somebody's position, but that's often when it happens in chess. And so it's just a good lesson, and it's how, Kramnik missed a mate in 1, right, like years ago, and people are like, how could he do that? Well, like psychologically, when you're faced with things you haven't always seen before, and then you're sort of emotionally committed to an idea, you don't recheck yourself. Everybody's capable of big blunders.
Yeah, it's like missing a layup. I mean, it happens.
All right, well, I think we'll bring the show to a close on that. I know you got to go.
Right. I do. Yeah, actually, I didn't realize what time it was.
And I think it's a good way to end it on this this psychological rant about why Magnus Carlsen missed mate in 3, because everybody loves talking about how Magnus Carlsen missed mate in 3.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Unfortunately, we have our high point of viewers right now, so I want to thank everybody.
Thanks, guys, for showing up.
We're just going to keep playing with the fans and engaging with you guys like we are. So maybe blinds going up. Victory condition said maybe that's a condition on
People
Twitch
are liking the stream. They want one more hour. Look at that. Thanks, everyone, for being here. This was fun.
Thanks, everybody. I'm enjoying it. Alec, we're getting so... I don't know. I only got to bang the gong once, but we bonded when it happened.
But yeah, that is cool.
That was good. So, all right, homie. Have a good day. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.